Today we will be making a stew out of the shanks from a deer and a bear. First I'll turn the stovetop on to medium. Get a pan big enough to fit all the shanks in, or do it in multiple batches, is up to you. Add a few tablespoons of oil, I'm using bear grease in this case. Once it gets hot, add the shanks into the pan. I'm going to cook it about 5 minutes on each side, maybe flip it 3 or 4 times total. Add some salt and some pepper as well. While I'm waiting for that to cook, I'll cut up an onion. I'm going to cheat today and use my potato slicer, which happens to work great with onions as well. I highly recommend this. I think it only cost me $20 and I've had it for years now. Great time saver. I'm also going to cut up 2 sticks of celery. Size of the pieces is up to you. Alright, now it's time to flip over the shanks. Should get a nice golden brown color, a little charring on the sides as well. Add some more salt and pepper onto these sides. While we're waiting for that to cook, I'll crush up some garlic. You can use garlic powder if you don't want to go through this process. Add a little bit of cumin as well, about a tablespoon or 2 I'd say. Then I'm adding some thyme as well. You can use oregano as well though. Alright, once it's nice and cooked, I'll put it into the crock pot. And in the existing oil, I'll add the garlic mix and stir it constantly for about a minute. Then I'll add the onions, the celery, and a case of mushrooms as well. And then stir that around until it gets golden brown, probably between 5 and 8 minutes. Once that's done, I'll add my crushed tomatoes, 28-ounce cans worth. Mix that all together and let it simmer for a couple minutes just to warm it up. Once that's all warmed up, I'll add my red wine. It's up to you how much you want to do. I would have done more than this, but and then mix that all together as well. And then once that's done, you'll want to transfer it into the pot with the shanks. Make sure all the liquid gets down in between all the shanks and a bunch of the vegetables as well. And then if you have any extra space on top, you can add more red wine, or in this case I'm using brown game stock to cover the meat. Then you'll want to put it in your crock pot, cover it, put it on low, and leave it simmering there for between 8 and 10 hours. So 4 to 6 hours into it, you'll want to add your carrots. So I cut it up into about even sizes. Not all thin slices, but each chunk around the same volume. Jasmine likes her carrot ends, so she always gets some. After about 4 to 6 hours, I check the meat, see how it's doing. Still tough, but they'll change quickly once the 8-hour mark hits. Then I just add the carrots on top, just slightly submerging them, not fully putting them under the liquid. And cover it back up and leave it once again. After about 8 hours, it should be done. The meat should be falling right off the bone. I take the meat out to let it cool down before I start taking it off the bone. Try to keep it all together so it doesn't fall apart in the pot. Which I will say I did a pretty good job this go around. For the most part. After the meat has cooled down, you'll want to separate it. I got impatient, so I got my hot gloves on to do it. Just take the pieces of meat off, crush them up, and put them back into the pot with all the vegetables and the broth. And then mix all the meat back into the vegetables. At this point, do taste tests. If it needs a little more salt, then add more salt. But otherwise, you're pretty much done. After it's cooled a little bit, it's time to eat. And there's a little bone I didn't get out. And there we have it. Could definitely use a little bit more seasoning on my part of red wine, but it's very good. Not tough at all. See you next time.